If you're moving to the Salt Lake City area and you're considering Draper as a possibility of where to buy, this video is for you because today I am going to break down different neighborhoods and why they may or may not be a good idea for different people. I've actually lived in Draper since 2002 and I've raised my kids here who are now adults. They've gone through the school system. I know the neighborhoods in Draper. I know the pros and cons of living in Draper for so long. So chances are you're not going to find somebody on YouTube that knows Draper and can tell you about Draper better than me. So let's jump into it. Okay, so if you're looking at Draper, one of the top neighborhoods people ask me about is Suncrest. So I'm going to start the furthest south in Draper. Now, if you're not familiar with Suncrest, Suncrest is actually broken into two counties, Salt Lake County and Utah County. And Suncrest, some people absolutely love Suncrest. So if you are a person who doesn't care about being close to amenities like restaurants, grocery stores, things like that, and having an extended commute, then this could be a great neighborhood for you because you're at the top of South Mountain in Suncrest, so you get out of the inversion. Now you will get a lot more snow up in Suncrest than you see in other parts of Draper. So if you're somebody who does not want to deal with winter weather and getting exercise, digging yourself out of your yard, Suncrest may not be for you. But if you can look past all of that and you're like, I have amazing views, I'm out of the inversion, tons of trails for me to hike and walk on right outside my back door, basically, Suncrest is probably going to be a really good option for you. Now, the thing to remember about Suncrest, like I said, is they're at the top of South Mountain. So there is no grocery store up there. There is no police station. There's no hospitals, doctors, anything like that. If weather is good, it's going to take you about an additional 10 minutes to get down the hill to any of those types of amenities. Now, if you are coming down Suncrest and you need to get to the closest grocery store in Draper, then you're probably going to be looking at about 15 to 20 minute drive. If you want to go to restaurants, it's even longer than that unless you go on the south side and go into Utah County, which is Highland. And then you have like another grocery store there, Costa Vida, things like that in that area. But as far as if you want a nice sit down restaurant and all of that, you got to plan on at least 20 minutes from Suncrest. Now, school buses, if you have children, they do go into the Suncrest area. So you don't have to worry about that necessarily. However, if you are going to be driving your kids to school and it's wintertime, you better count on a nasty commute. I've done a video before showing people coming down from Suncrest in a snowstorm, and it can be really ugly going up and down that hill. But like I said, there are some people that love Suncrest because you kind of get out of it. Now, I mentioned like police stations, hospitals, all of that. I have friends who live in Suncrest, and that was one complaint that they had was if they called the police, it could take an extended amount of time to get a response because they have to go up the hill as well, and depending on where they're at in Draper to get up there. Okay, what type of homes do you find in Suncrest? You can still find new construction, luxury homes being built at the top of Suncrest. And like I said, you have amazing views in Suncrest of the mountains and the fresh air and everything. Now you can find a lot of homes that are like the early 2000s up to new construction, like I said. So they've been building in Suncrest and developing it for quite a while. Now, Suncrest is in an HOA community, and they do have a community pool right at the front of Suncrest or at the very top. When you're local, you kind of talk about the stop sign in Suncrest, and if you ever come and see it, you'll understand what I'm talking about, but that's kind of the reference point of local Draper people is the stop sign. Okay, so I'm here at one of the trailheads in Suncrest, and you can see what I'm talking about with amazing views and what draws people up to Suncrest. So this is looking out at all of Salt Lake County, and you can see a little bit of the inversion, so you can see why the Suncrest community says above it all, above the inversion, because you're truly at the top here of South Mountain. And looking out this direction, this is kind of the first part of Suncrest. So these were the homes that were originally built. So you're gonna tend to find the older homes, and by older I mean, 2000s. And that is more the west side of Suncrest. Now you can see on somewhat of a clear day like we have today, you can see all the way out to Antelope Island. Behind this tree, I can see all the way to downtown, which might be hard to see on camera, but you get the idea. And then I'm going to show you more over on this other side. This is going more towards Utah County portion of Suncrest, and this is where you're going to find more of the new construction homes. So if you don't want the homes from the early 2000s, as you can see, I mean, they're building a house there on the left, and all those areas are newer construction homes, and you have some amazing mountain views. That's the thing I love about Suncrest, is that you just feel like you're right there at the mountains. Okay, and if you are looking for the most affordable single family homes consistently in Draper, then there is a pocket of homes in a neighborhood between 114th South and 123rd, and it is on the west side of the freeway. So you're still close to everything, being right between 114th and 123rd. You're across from Living Planet Aquarium. Now, the thing about most of the houses you find in this neighborhood, they're going to be about $550 and up, but the majority of them are little cottage style homes. And I say little by Utah standards, okay? You're talking 1,800 square feet. You'll see here they have detached garages, but I'm here at a park that's here in the community, just a small little play park. You have a picnic bench. You do have the grass area behind me. So if you do have kids or dogs that you want to be able to let run around, you still have those conveniences in that neighborhood. Now, besides the fact of the square footage, you do have to compete with the railroad tracks. So that can deter people. But if you've ever lived by railroad tracks, my dad did when I was a kid and I would go visit in the summertime, you get used to the noise. You kind of block it out and you don't even hear it anymore. So some people that may not be a big deal, but this is a great little area if you just want single family home in the 500s and you just care about being in Draper in general. Okay, before I jump into any more of the video, I do want to clarify, I obviously cannot cover every single neighborhood in Draper. And so I may be talking about some neighborhoods and missing others. So if you're considering making a move to Draper, call or text me and let's talk about it, because there's other neighborhoods that definitely fit some of these categories that I'm discussing today. So Draper is a very unique town in the sense of it used to be old farmland. So you will have like horse property and farmland, and then all of a sudden they're building new construction homes because a farmer sold it off. And then you might be in the next neighborhood, homes that were built in the early 2000s. So it's very diverse with the housing types here in Draper. Okay, the next type is if you're looking for an internal ADU, an internal accessory dwelling unit. There are certain areas in Draper where that is prohibited, such as South Mountain, all along the benches in Draper, Bellevue. I'm going to put this map up here. This is a map I pulled today from the Draper City website of where those are prohibited. Now, interestingly enough, the internal ADU, so that would be like a basement apartment, you can still do short-term rentals as long as your lease is not more than 30 days in some of these areas. So there's a lot of rules and differing things. So you really want to make sure if you're intending to buy a home in Draper that you intend to rent and not have like a family member living in, you really want to take a look at it. Now, to be honest, Draper's not the best at enforcing their own rules. So the chances that they're actually going to enforce it, I would be surprised because I've never actually heard of them enforcing any of these regulations, but things change. So don't go off of what I know as a Draper resident. You want to do your homework and make sure you're up to code with the rules. Now, I will also say, because of the housing crisis and affordable housing crisis, I should say, in Utah and all the regulations that are coming about, these rules can change because the state government is getting more involved in these types of ADU situations. I hope you're enjoying the video so far and touring Draper. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and click that bell. That way you're alerted each time I drop a new video. Okay, and if you're looking for luxury homes, now luxury homes are all over in Draper. So I'm gonna give you some of the more common subdivisions that people tend to look in. First is a gated community called Draper Heights up on South Mountain. Now these homes are, like I said, in a gated community. They're large homes, like 5, 6, 7,000 plus square feet. Some have like tennis courts or pickleball courts in their yards. They have detached garages, they have swimming pools. You know, homes in this area are easily going to be like $1.75 million to $2.5 million in this neighborhood. Another good option off of Highland is two other subdivisions, Steeplechase and Hickory Ridge. Now, Steeplechase is right off Highland, and as you go further into Steeplechase towards the mountain, so further east of Highland, the homes get bigger. They're a little bit newer part of Steeplechase, and I can't even guess the square footage when you look at some of these houses on the outside of what they are. I would guess at least 7,500 square feet in some cases. And again, you're looking at a couple $1 million in this neighborhood. And then, like I said, Hickory Ridge is just north of Steeplechase off Highland. Again, really large houses. Some of them are view lots that look out at the valley, more mansion style in a lot of cases as well. And you do find that in the newer part of Steeplechase as well. Now, since 2020, it seems like a lot of the farmers off of Fort Street have sold their land. And so you're seeing more and more custom home pop up along Fort Street. Now, I say custom home, but they're really technically spec homes in the sense of you can buy them, new construction, just built, more custom home builder, I guess I would say. They're not like the national or typical Utah home builders that you see in Daybreak and every other community around. So more of a custom home builder, but spec style homes off of Fort Street. And again, I don't want to be a broken record, but you will have luxury homes popping up all throughout Draper. These are just some of the larger subdivisions that are more luxury style and that you'll find more listings typically in these neighborhoods. Okay, if you are looking for large lots or horse property, then look at the 7s in Draper. And what I mean by that is 700 West and 700 East. Those areas around those streets have large acres, horse property, and more. So starting at 700 West, I am talking about between 114th South and 123rd. And a lot of those properties look out at the Jordan River. So you would have that trail system that goes along Jordan River for walking, biking, things like that. And it's kind of deceiving on 700 West because you look at these houses and they just keep going behind them. For like over an acre property is not uncommon along 700 West in Draper in that area. And then as you go down the hill a little bit or south of 114th before you get to 123rd, you can see the properties that have like the barns and stables and things like that for actual horse property. Now, continuing to move south along 700 West, you get towards Galena Park. Those are also large lots, but you don't see like horses necessarily. You see detached garages, you see swimming pools, you see really large homes on those bigger parcels around Galena Park. But those are some great options. Now, of course, there are horse properties and large lots in other parts of Draper, like 700 East, what I was just talking about. And that goes between 300 East and 700 East in Draper, right about 118th South to 123rd. That is where you're going to see big properties, horse properties, chickens, things like that. Not that you can't have them in other parts of Draper, chickens, I mean. But great big lots that are kind of sprawling. The homes tend to be a little bit older in all of these areas that I'm talking about for horse properties, but some fantastic options if that is something that you're looking for. A lot of people want to have space to keep trailers, boats, build a detached workshop, anything like that. These are great areas and great options for you. Okay, if being close to public schools like Corner Canyon High School, Draper Park Middle School, elementary schools is important to you, then you want to look at Bellevue community, which I'm here at Bellevue Park. You can see behind me, Corner Canyon High School is just over there. So any of these neighborhoods, Bellevue, Crystal Meadows area, all of these neighborhoods right around 700 East is going to be a great option for you. Now, this is the flat part of Draper, so you're still going to be close to 123rd. You're not going to have as much snow as you would normally get on the benches and things like that, but you can see that you're still going to have mountain views. I mean, really, it's Utah. You have mountain views almost everywhere you go. But this is a great option right around 700 East. And like I said, there's multiple little neighborhoods. Sometimes when you're searching for homes, you can't even put in the subdivisions that are around here by their name. Bellevue, yes, you can. But some of these other little pocket subdivisions that I'm talking about, you can't search for them specifically. But if you look around 700 East, there's going to be some great options for you. Now, when you come to the Bellevue community, homes in this neighborhood are going to be, you might be able to find some for high 900s if they're outdated and you need to do some remodeling work at the time of this recording at least. However, most homes in these areas are going to run you closer to about 1.1 million and up. And if you are wanting to be close to the private school Juan Diego, a lot of people will move to Draper because they have kids going to Juan Diego. The most popular neighborhood for people moving to Utah and having kids go to Juan Diego is Cranberry Hill off of 114th, just north of the school. But there is also a newer Ivory subdivision just south of the school, and that's very popular. The horse property that I spoke about earlier between 300 and 700 East, those properties are very popular for kids that are going to the Juan Diego campus, because Juan Diego is not just a high school, it actually starts at pre-K. So that entire area near there People like to have their kids walk to school because it being a private school, buses are not an option. So those are all some great areas if you are moving to Draper just to have your kids at Juan Diego. Now, when I talk to people who are looking at relocating to Utah, the one thing they always say is, I want a view. Well, like I said when I was covering Bellevue, you really have views everywhere you go in Utah. You can see the mountains no matter what, it seems like. So I'm talking now, not just mountain views, but maybe you want to see part of the city or part of the Salt Lake Valley, not just the mountains. So you don't necessarily have to go as far up as Suncrest to get those. Now, of course, Suncrest, you're going to have a more expansive view, but you can go along the ridge in South Mountain, so along Highland, and you can find some amazing view lots all along there. I mean, there's like just these little pockets by the golf course where you can see part of Draper, part of the valley. If you go towards the hang gliding park, you have a lot more view lots that look out at the entire county. So again, you may not have quite the expansive, like looking down view as you get in Suncrest. However, there are some properties along South Mountain that you can see all the way to Antelope Island, very similar to Suncrest. And then going along the bench north into Draper, where I was saying Hickory Ridge, you can still see parts of the valley and get view lots there as well. So if you're considering making a real estate move to Draper or any of the surrounding areas, I'd love to connect with you. Shoot me a text or give me a call. That is the best way to reach me. But as always, make it a great day.